Hello there, I'm Eamonn Holmes, and this is Eamonn and The Gaffers. This week, what a legend, what a man at so many clubs, not only as a player, but also as a gaffer. Most of all as a player, Manchester City's really what we've got to talk about in the mid-90s. Basically, he scored a goal every 3 games whilst he played there. He's gone on to manage in Norway, in England, in Sweden, and now in Germany at Fortuna Düsseldorf. And he is Uwe Rosler. Very good to see you, Uwe.
Thanks for having me, Eamonn.
Very good. I noticed behind you the big flag, Fortuna Düsseldorf. And Fortuna means what?
Means the god of luck. I've chosen the right club, hopefully, with a lot of luck coming up.
Is the god smiling on you within that luck? Because I'm just saying, you're hovering there. You're just above that relegation zone in the Bundesliga.
So far, not really. I mean, we hit the post 6-7 times in 14 games. We have 5 goals disallowed. So at the moment, the margins are not turning for us, but we're hoping that will happen in the last game of the season.
You guys, you're back in business. We're just starting to come back in the English league. So you're a few weeks ahead of us. What do you think, Uwe, the managers and the players here need to look out for? What have you guys experienced that is coming our way?
It's very important that each country has different conditions to go from. So, our infection rate was not as high as in the UK. Our death rate was not as high as in the UK. Our health system has been tremendous coping with this pandemic. And we had also a very good plan in place. Big credit to everybody involved that we kept the discipline and the mentality to go through these very difficult times. And so far, so good. All the games went ahead. Nobody got affected. And looks like we can finish the season.
What is it like to play with no crowd there?
Very, very difficult, especially when you be an emotional guy like us. Like me, especially when you are a club who needs the support from their fantastic supporters like we. When you be in the bottom end of the league and fighting to stay in the league, you need that 5-10% from your home crowd. And in the moment, we don't get that. And I think playing without the crowd favors the bigger teams in the games. You could see that clearly.
What do you think you bring as a manager? What do you like to play for? As
a manager, I try to create environment where we work extremely hard, where we improve day by day. I call it very often an environment of excellence, and that we try to maximize our resources to get success. And I think that always starts at the top, and I need to be a prime example for my staff and for my players.
If we were to work out your managerial style, you like a pressing game, and you have a couple of formations, either 4-3-3 or 3-5-2 that you prefer. A lot of people say if they were to compare you, the closest comparison would be Jurgen Klopp and the way he plays.
Obviously, I always try to learn from the best, and I study a lot the game in general. Try to pick up bits and pieces, but for me, it was always important to create your own way of play. And I think you're right. I like to be the front foot defending forward, not defending backwards. But I also like to have control of the game, like Guardiola, for example. So I try to pick up bits and pieces from the best managers in the world and find the best way for the players I have to my disposal to win football matches.
You're an exceptional man in many ways, not just because of the job you do, but because what you've come through. And when we look back at your career as a player, you were with Lillestrøm in Norway, and the year's 2003. I say with Lillestrøm because you finish there as a player, you start there as a manager, but in between, the most awful circumstance in your life when you're diagnosed with cancer. So what were the effects? You're playing on the pitch. What are the effects when you first think there's something wrong here?
I played my last game. I scored the winner, and the next 2 days after I was diagnosed with cancer with a 5% survival chance. So that was quite a shock. Difficult to take. I had a very young family at the time. My kids was very young. Obviously, there was a lot of worries in my head how the future will look like. But with the help of my friends, with the help of my family, my wife mostly, we as a family, we came through this together, and I think that made us as a family much stronger for the fantastic years we had since then.
Did it change your outlook on life? I mean, things that you worried about, things that you wanted to do from there on in?
Yeah, of course. When you had that sort of prognosis, you think about what you will miss out on life in general. Because I still was a relatively young man, and concerned about the family, concerned about the kids. And as soon as the treatment has started, I was just in a tunnel wishing to concentrate on the treatment, to come through this and beat the cancer. And I think you need to have that sort of mentality. I was fortunate that I got a second chance in life. And since then, obviously, my outlook in life is a little bit different. I think family comes first, absolutely number one, family first, before football came first. And that has changed. Family first, and then football. And I think as a family, as a couple, we got closer and closer. And since then we had fantastic years.
So tell me about this love affair with Manchester City, how it came about, and what it means to you.
I came to a difficult time in my playing career to Manchester City. I just returned from a bad injury, and I was free to leave the club, Dynamo Dresden, and find myself a new club. And I came over for basically a trial game. And when I landed in Manchester, read about Trautmann, the connection to a former German player. I was very fortunate in having a manager like Brian Horton who understood me, who used me the right way. I had the support from Gary Lee, the son of Francis Lee, who looked at me at the beginning, day in, day out. And I also had fantastic teammates who learned me basically how to survive in the English game. So thanks to all of them, and that was wonderful.
How do you survive in the English game? What was different?
Different was in Germany. You play when you was a striker, you always get man-marked all over the pitch. So I find it easier, but because of the way I played, with intelligent runs in between the gaps of a back four. To cause more problems. And I had very good striking partners like Niall Quinn and Paul Walsh who learned me the game. And I think I was suitable for that way of football, and I enjoyed every minute, especially the emotional connection to the crowd.
That emotional connection, I know you, in previous interviews, you've talked about how it's an unbreakable bond. And particularly when you were ill, when you were in hospital in Norway. Tell me that story, listening to the television.
And when you have difficulties in life, you see who are your friends, who are there for you when you're with the back against the ropes. And the crowd, a friend of mine called me up at the game. They called and singing my whole name. And I was hanging on all sorts of medication at the time, and I wasn't really well. And I think I will never forget that moment, because I think whatever you say, that gives you new inspiration. My inspiration at that moment was always to be one more time in the Etihad, one more time to see the crowd. And that helped me in the way to recover. And I felt this connection in my playing times, but also the connection after my playing times. The club has always looked after me. They always looked after my family. And this is why I call Manchester City my spiritual home.
Uwe, what is it like to score a goal? Is that feeling better than winning as a manager, or does it equate?
I think scoring a goal and winning a match in the Bundesliga, I think that is pretty equal. I think for a club like us, it's really, really difficult. Scoring goals, the flow of adrenaline, the flow of happiness in that split second is a sensation you always look after your playing career. And the closest I can get to that is being a coach and win football matches.
Now, when you came to Fortuna Düsseldorf in January, you had a big job to do. That job is not over yet. As a coach, as a manager, what were your priorities? What did you have to do with the squad that you had?
I come on the back of a really successful time with Malmö FF in Europe and also domestically, and I went completely from being a winning team going to a team who had been bottom in the league. And obviously there are reasons why the team was bottom in the league, so I had to access immediately what has to be done. I came on Thursday, and our first game was on a Saturday against Eintracht Frankfurt, and I was relying on the staff here. I think they did a tremendous job by helping me, giving me the right information. But the main thing was to have immediately a stamp in terms of tactics, in terms of also formation, because I felt immediately we needed to change to a back three and also playing with a three-man midfield instead of two. And I think, you know how players are. Players always want the way. You as a coach, you need to show them a way to win. And I think the players came 10 seconds away to winning. We were leading in the 95th minute. Last kick of the ball, we conceded the equalizer. But from then onwards, the players shown tremendous belief in our way of playing.
How do you get them to show that belief? As a manager, do you shout? Do you scream? How do you influence them?
I think on that level now, with the modern players, I think shouting and screaming is not enough. I think you need to convince the players. Players in Germany are very well educated, tactically very well educated. You need to explain to them. You need to be thorough. You need to be detailed when you're giving the instruction. They like information here. They like even more information than I actually thought it was healthy. So that surprised me very positively. And I think when they see you do your homework really well and you be passionate about the way we play and passionate about the team, I think that can influence the players on a positive way.
Your friends, or you must know Ole Solskjaer.
Ole Gunnar was instrumental that I got the Brentford job.
Really?
From Matthew Benham, yeah. And Matthew Benham was just bought the club Brentford, and he created this new generation youth tournament, and they were looking also for Scandinavian team to participate, and he got in contact to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, who was at the time in Molde. And Ole Gunnar, because he knew what a job I did in Molde before he came, recommended me to Brentford, and then I got a job in Brentford. So since then we are like that, very close. And it's just fantastic to see that he is now the manager, Manchester United, on that level. He's doing well.
What were you able to do there? What seeds did you sow at Brentford?
When we came, obviously, we were a team mid-table, bottom table in League One. And I think we changed a completely playing squad in the first year. We had 16 players out, 16 players in. We completely went young. We looked for qualities, professionalism, desire, hungry players who we could not afford to buy. So we were very, very active on the loan market. I remember we got 3 players from Everton, for example, 2 players from Chelsea. And we also signed very good pros like Jonathan Douglas, you know very well, Clayton Donaldson, really experienced pros who also really were guiding the younger players. And we got some sort of mix with a very good training culture of, like I said before, of improving day by day, of a culture where everybody tried to be the best he can be. Yeah. And I think that was the secret to move on year by year. And in the last year, I left them for Wigan. They bought me out of my contract, but I still feel part of the promotion season because I had over 20 games in that season. I left them in the second spot. So for me, that was a fantastic model, and I really hope this story ends with a fairy tale.
Good. Let's talk about your story and where it began, which was on the eastern side of the Berlin Wall. So you were then what was termed as East German. Were you aware of the Berlin Wall growing up?
Growing up, no, I was too young. So I'm born 68. First memories as a kid with Berlin Wall. That was 2 separate countries, East and West Germany. One country obviously dominated and run by Russian influences. communistic state, and obviously West Germany, a completely different system. And I grown up like every other kid, wanted to be a footballer, wanted to play football, and got chosen when I was 11 years old to the School of Excellence, a sports school. It's called Sports School, where purely could focus on school and training, away from the parents. It was really, really tough, but I really enjoyed it. And I would be thankful to my parents who gave me that opportunity to let me go.
Is it true? There's this story that you were asked to spy for the Stasi, for the secret police.
I got approached when I signed my first contract in 1987 as a professional for Lokomotiv Leipzig. Brought up as a young player into the squad, and I was the prime target, the easy target to approach from the Stasi to threaten me. You have to work with us. When not, we have an influence on your career. You will never play for this club. You will never play for the national team again. And so this pressure situation was enormous for a young person who only wanted to play football. I had a very good relationship to my parents, and my dad gave me the best advice in my life. He said, you have to go to your coach. You trust him? And I said, yes, go to your coach. Tell him what they try to do with you. And I did that, and he sorted out everything for me. And I think that was the best advice I got, because many players in my position, they got forced into something what they never wanted to do. And I was so fortunate to have a dad like I had, who gave me the right advice.
What information could you possibly have given them? What would they have been interested in? What were other players being asked?
They were interested in when we was abroad, because there was always people in our hotels, people was meeting each other from former times, maybe family members, lived in West Germany or wherever. Also, when you're going out, who's socializing with who, which girl is that, and where she come from, and all sorts of control mechanism. What they try to have, that they wanted to have full control on sports people. The government invested a lot of money in to represent the state, and this is, they wanted to make sure they have all the information they can get to control them.
Because information is power, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Tell me about the English League. The English League obviously would always have been an ambition. What was it about the English League? What was it about the lure, the attraction of being a player in the English League?
The East German clubs at the time, they occasionally, not every year, but now and then, they've been very successful in Europe. So you actually had the chance on East German television to watch when teams played against foreign opposition, especially English opposition. So, yes. And I was so much hooked on when I saw type of stadiums. We in East Germany, we had completely different types of stadiums. So the type of stadiums, the atmosphere in the stadiums, then the pace and the power of the game, and obviously the atmosphere in the stadium, the crowd, the singing, the passion. And this is where my love to the English game came from. And after the unification, at some point, I got the opportunity to fulfill my dream.
Yeah. And as a player, from an early age, had you always got an ambition, or to be a coach, to be a manager, or was it because of circumstances in Norway at Lillestrøm? You were in your mid-30s, the cancer hit, you came out the other end, and Lillestrøm say, we will give you the manager's job. Had that always been your plan, your intention, or did it just happen?
For me, it was absolutely clear to be a coach. And I have so much joy over the years at hard times, and I had very good times as well. But I think football, for me, to be in football is a privilege and is a lifestyle, and I want to be a part.
But you also must have been, obviously a student of the game. Who were your influences, or who do you admire as a manager?
The biggest influence on me as a coach had Otto Rehhagel. Otto Rehhagel, he won 2004, he won the European Championship with Greece, and I played for him in Kaiserslautern, where Kaiserslautern was winning as a new promoted team, the Bundesliga. I had a fantastic time learning from him in the Kaiserslautern team, very successful team. I also felt I learned a lot tactically from Glenn Hoddle. Glenn Hoddle, I had played for him in Southampton, and I remember I had, after everybody left, we played a lot of football tennis. Glenn played always, he loved the football tennis, and after football tennis, we talked endlessly about football at times. I learned a lot from him about the game, about tactics, and so I feel that was two major influences on me.
Tell me about Ferguson.
My time in England has been basically his prime, where he took over the dominance of the club, and for us was very, very difficult from the blue side of Manchester to live in the shadow of Man United. But like always, life goes in circles, and you know now how it feels when I was there.
Well, hopefully the circle will spin a lot quicker in these years. So what do you like then in the dressing room when it comes to half time? Do you change things? How important is half time for you as a coach, particularly if the game's not going your way?
As a coach, you, especially when the stadium is full, not like it is in the moment. In the moment, you have more influence because the players can hear you at any moment. But when the crowd is in and it's full atmosphere, at times it's very difficult to have influence on the pitch when the game is going. So your chance as a coach is at halftime. And then your measurement as a coach is, are you improve the team at halftime or you not improve the team at halftime? So that what I mean with that is what you're talking about, how you talk about, and what sort of decisions you make in terms of substitutions. So, and I think there you have to look as a coach, have you improved the team or have you not improved the team with your halftime talk?
Okay. And is that solely your decision, or is there a democracy at all? Do you as a gaffer say, lads, what do you think? Do you ever hand over responsibility and say, what should I do? Or is that weakness?
I'd be a little bit more old-fashioned on that one. So,
yeah.
So we have a little routine. I had that since my time in Sweden now, and coaches, we stay outside, we go just through 1-2 things, then I go in my room, then come the analysis guy comes down and shows me 1 or 2 things because I told him to show me that at halftime. And then we make a choice. Are we showing 1 or 2 pictures as halftime for the team? Then visual showing the players what I did well or what I have to improve. And then we go from there in terms of making our decision.
You have been a footballer and involved in some way for all of your adult life. Do you ever wake up in a sweat and think, what have I had to get a real job? I say that because it is your love, it is your ambition to be doing what you're doing. Do you ever think, what if you weren't doing this? What would you be in the real world?
Sometimes I don't have time to think about that because I just need to think about who will play next game and what sort of tactics we have. I think as a coach, a head coach or manager, you have sleepless nights. You're playing things through your mind all the time. The way to make your decisions, the way you talk to the players, the way you talk to the media, the way you talk to your chairman. I think, and then certainly you wake up and the night is over and you are exhausted. So I had a lot of them, but I think I got better over the years to learn to manage yourself, to find time for yourself, to recharge your batteries. And I think that is very, very important for managers.
How quickly does your battery drain or not in being involved in a relegation battle as you are at the moment?
I mean, pressure is on any team. Are you playing on the top of the table, even for playoff places or on the bottom? So, but it's different type of pressure. I think the pressure we are under now is obviously not a nice one because relegation means people will lose their jobs. Wages will be cut in half.
Yeah.
Supporters will not come into the club, and I think that has a massive consequence for everybody involved in our football club. So this pressure is a pressure I don't really like to have too often, I have to say.
As a player, at Man City, 50 goals in 152 games. You also played for Southampton. You had a few games, 5 games, I think, with West Brom as well. From the English game, who made your life difficult in terms of players? You know, who was in the way? I mean, because you would have scored goals. You even scored a goal, I remember, in Manchester Derby as well, past Peter Schmeichel. What gives you the most satisfaction? Who was the difficult defender to get past, or the difficult goalkeeper? Who stands out from those days?
In my time when I played, the only team I didn't score was Arsenal. I have to say, this back four was, and in Highbury, where the pitch was very small. Yeah. So it was, I was nearly impossible to find gaps in terms of organization, in terms of power, strength. This back four and experience, this back four was something what I never came across. Individually, I think the best player I played against was Desai. Desai was phenomenal reading the game, phenomenal physique, and also good ball playing centre half.
As for you, when you hang up your boots and you say, well, that's enough, or you hang up your overcoat or whatever you do now as a gaffer, and you say, well, I've had enough of all of this, how would you like the game to remember you? As a gaffer, as a player, or what would you like to have stamped upon the game that people will come away and say, that Uwe Rosler, I think this about him? What would it be?
I think I would like to be seen as a professional, as a top professional. Try to be the best he can be, and honest, hard-working man.
Well, good luck to you, my friend. It's been lovely talking to you, and thank you for your time. And may the God of fortune continue to smile on you there at Düsseldorf. Thank you very much indeed, Uwe Rosler.
Thank you. Thank you. Take care and stay safe.
This podcast is available wherever you get your podcasts from, and it's also available as a video cast on YouTube. Thank you very much.